Danville City Council is now called to order. Madam Clerk, you call the roll.
Reverend Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Vice Mayor Luther.
Here.
Dr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Raleigh.
Here.
Mayor Saunders.
Here.
Mr. Shanks.
Here.
Mr. Toma.
Here. Please stand for the invocation. Remain standing. Given tonight by Council Member Dr. Gary Miller.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, as this holiday season comes upon us, may we remember and give thanks for the bountiful blessings you bestowed upon us. This wonderful country where we have freedom of speech, freedom to vote for whom we choose, freedom to pursue what religion we wish. Thank you for this great state we live in, this beautiful state, and thank you for our fair city where people of all races can live and work together. But also let us remember during this holiday season we have an obligation to help those that are needy. For those who have no homes, we need to help provide shelter. For those who have no clothing and food, we need to help them. For those whose homes do not have heat, truly neighbors can help neighbors. Dear Lord, help us, and we thank you for all these blessings in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Under communication, those who wish to speak on any matter not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. If you wish to speak on any agenda item, you will be heard when that item is considered. Anyone wish to speak? Yes, sir. And your name, please.
Bruce Hedrick, 25 Old Halifax Road in Danville.
Okay.
Gentlemen, I'd just like to remind members of council, I'd just like to remind everybody, I'm no longer with the Star News Corporation at this time. However, I am starting back Southside Central at this time, and I would look forward to a continued spirit of cooperation, as I always got from the city and the staff and the council, into making us one of the most news organizations that there is, and also one of the premier blogs of the South Side. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else wish to speak? Thank you. Consideration of the minutes for the regular council meeting held on October 18, 2011. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Vice Mayor, second by Mr. Campbell. Discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Reverend Campbell. Aye. Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther.
Aye.
Dr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh.
Aye.
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Toma.
Aye. Under the consent agenda, the following budget amendments, item B through H, have been previously discussed by City Council and introduced for first reading, will be further considered by City Council in public hearing. After the public hearing has been closed, there will be no separate discussion on these issues, and they will be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by a council member or a citizen, the item will be removed from the consent process and considered separately. I open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? I close the public hearing. Any council member wish to pull any item B through H? Hearing none, your pleasure. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Mayor, I move that we adopt the budget amendments, items B through H, on the consent agenda.
Okay. Second by Mr. Jones. No discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther.
Aye.
Dr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh.
Aye.
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Toma.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye. Under a new business, consideration of amending the year 2020 land use plan from neighborhood service to community service and rezoning from neighborhood commercial district to conditional highway retail commercial district, approximately 3.08 acres at 3207 North Main Street, 1667 Piney Forest Road, and 1663 Piney Forest Road. I open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? close the public hearing. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Campbell.
Mayor, I move for adoption of ordinance amending the year 2020 land use plan for neighborhood service and community service and rezoning for the neighborhood commercial district, this conditional HRC highway retail commercial district, approximately 3.8 acres at 3207 North Main Street, 1667 Powder Forest Road, and 1663 Powder Forest Road.
Okay, second. Mr. Shanks. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Vice Mayor.
I have a comment. I see Mr. Baker's here. He's been a productive citizen for Danville for many years, and in the packet supplied to council on page 62 is something that is brought up to me to ask, do I remember Kay's Sky Castle? And if you looked at your packet, you saw that WBTM has a studio up on top of that building where we would broadcast up in the air, and we would take requests by dropping a bucket down on a rope and pulling them back up to that facility. If a question ever, and I was just a child when we did this, but if anybody wants to know if these signs are 50 years old or not, because that's coming up later tonight, I can tell you this was 50 years ago. So that's my only comment. But it did bring back a lot of memories looking at that.
Thank you. Mr. Shanks.
Yes, Mayor, I had a question or two for staff and a question for the applicant, and I guess I'll ask the applicant first, if that's all right. Mr. Baker, there are a considerable number of proffers that are being offered here for this property. The proffers that you have agreed to offer.
I didn't understand you.
There are numerous proffers that you have agreed to offer in this rezoning case, things that you have agreed not to allow the land to be used for.
Yes.
And you're in agreement with all those proffers? You're in agreement with what you've offered? In other words, there are several things that have been included in this rezoning that you cannot use the land for that normally could be used for highway, retail, commercial. You're satisfied?
I'd say yes.
Okay. That being the case, I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further discussion on Mr. Raleigh.
Yeah, just for staff, when he talks about hours of operation, that's Sunday through Saturday.
Yes.
The 7.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
7 to 10.
Thank you, sir. You have more, Mr. Raleigh?
No, sir. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Further discussion? Madam
Yes,
Clerk.
may I ask staff a
Okay,
question?
Mr. James.
Mr. Gilligan, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand, and I understand the applicant's satisfied, but this was a highly visible retail area. Is there something with this property that you're concerned about to require all these proffers?
As you said, it is a highly visible retail area. It's the first gateway when you come into the city, so we wanted to work with Mr. Baker, making sure that what went in there would be the presentable thing, the first thing that came in there. There's also some issues on some environmental things that we need to take care of for that site, so we do have concerns and some things that need to be repaired or fixed. We felt that working with him, we got something that we felt was agreeable. He agreed to it, so we think that it'll be a benefit to both of us. Last
question, I think. I couldn't really tell what the intended use was, and maybe I read the report too quickly. Do you know?
It started off, he has a person who would like to do tires, kind of a tire shop in the old service station. The other building, Mr. Baker would like to reopen the video store. The third facility, we're still working on what can and can't go in there. There's multiple building code issues that need to be addressed. The tire store could open immediately if this zoning is approved. The other buildings, we have to work with them on addressing some other concerns that the city has.
This is the last question, I think. Highway retail commercial, that site looks like to me it would have been highway retail commercial already. What was the issue with it not being highway retail commercial?
There is a neighborhood just to the southwest of that property. You've got the area leads back towards Davis. I'm sorry, the other street's escaping me. But because of its proximity to that, proximity to the cemetery, and also across the street you have the bank and some other what we would classify as neighborhood commercial uses. We felt at the time we did the citywide rezoning that neighborhood commercial was more appropriate, and that's why we worked with Mr. Baker now and coming up with a list of proffers that we feel benefits both him and us, protecting the neighbors, and also that first gateway when you come into the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Toma?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Item B, consideration of request for a special use permit to allow the operation of a restaurant with a drive-in facility at 1013 South Main Street. I open the public hearings. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? Close the public hearing. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Jones.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance granting a special use permit to allow the operation of a restaurant with a drive-in facility in accordance with Article 3J, Section C, Item 1 of Chapter 41 of the Code of the City of Danville, Virginia, 1986, as amended at 1013 South Main Street.
Okay, second one, Mr. Tomer. Discussion on the motion. Dr. Miller.
Question, I guess. We approved this a few sessions back, the restaurant. Now, why wasn't the drive-through window included then? Omission or?
At the time, we were working with the building owner, and we asked the owner if his tenant was planning on using the drive-through. The owner told us no. Emphatically no, he was not going to use the drive-through. After they opened, the tenant came to us and said, well, I'd like to use the drive-through. We said, well, you could have told us this before. We would have taken it at that time. So it's just kind of an after the fact. The owner and the tenant apparently didn't converse very well.
Okay, and I'm just concerned, traffic could back up in the drive-in window. Do we think we have sufficient safeguards?
We feel that the way we have the conditions about it marking off the pavement, and this also, the bank had a drive-through, and it kind of worked in the same way.
Right.
The current tenant has been very gracious in marking it off, putting signs up telling people drive-through is not open and everything else. We don't feel that there's going to be an issue with them marking it off once they open the drive-through, putting signs and other things to have people not block the roadway. Also, if it becomes an issue, you can't block traffic on the road, so we could use police powers to help stop it. We don't believe it's going to be an issue. People will learn rather quickly what they can and can't do at a facility like that, especially if it's marked adequately.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Campbell.
Mine's dealing with the traffic also. I think it was stated that it cannot have no more than 2 vehicles
Yes.
at one time. How would that be monitored if it's more?
Again, it kind of will self-police in a way. There's really only room for 2 vehicles. Anything after that will block the road. And then if we have an issue blocking the roadway, then we can address it through police powers. We can monitor it as we drive by. If we get complaints on it, then we can, if it continues to be an issue, then we can bring it back to this body to possibly revoke the use of that drive-through. Again, the applicant has agreed to mark it off, sign it off, and their service is incredibly fast. I don't know if anyone's been inside that facility. I was in line for less than a minute and a half from the time I ordered till the time I left. Not going through the drive-through, but I don't think it'll be any worse out there. I imagine the drive-through may even be quicker than the inside service. So I think it, again, will self-police, but we'll continue to monitor it.
Mr. Tomer.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there'll be some lines to get. When they have good food, there's going to be lines of people to get it. But I know the owners, I know the building owner. I trust that they're going to self-police the facility and make sure that it. And this is a good business. It's up on Piney Forest Road that's coming and offering the same products and service to the south side of the city. It's an important investment in our community. There was a bank there, and everybody knows how a bank works. Sometimes there's long lines to get your check cash, so I wouldn't expect O'Kelly's to be slower than a bank. They're going to be a lot faster than a bank, so I have no worries about it. I'll be voting for it.
I think our attorney will help police the facility.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones.
Hey, I have to agree. Also, the food is already prepared. Everything is pretty much prepared, and I have been by several times, and I've been very impressed, Mr. Mayor. I will be voting for it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Raleigh.
I was there today, and I think they're going to have some problems with it. And the reason I say that, they got a great business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only 2 cars. If it was 6 cars, I think I'm voting for it, but I just hope we can work things out. Only because they have such a great food and great service. I think it was packed today at 1 o'clock. And it just worries me a little bit that only 2 cars can fit in. But I'm voting for it. But I think we need to really take a good look at it as it goes on so they can school their customers on what can be done and what can't be done.
Okay, further discussion on the motion? Did you have a question or comment, sir? You'd like to come forward, please, and give your name?
Thank you, sir. I'm Gerald Kelly, the owner of O'Kelly's. Thank y'all for the nice things y'all said about us.
Is that why you're smiling?
Yes, sir. Y'all just keep coming. I'm not planning on really opening the drive-through to maybe the beginning of the year to try it out. It's not going to be a disaster because I'll shut the window before that happens. We're already successful without it. But we just didn't want the opportunity to fall for using the window. If we have to go with a plan like maybe Mary's Diner used for just pickup only, then we'll go to that if we have to. But we're concerned about it. Like the gentleman said, the traffic anyway too. So we're hoping to just see maybe a few people that come through and have respect for everybody. But if it turns out to be a situation where nobody respects and they block up South Main, we'll just have a pickup window there and it won't even be a drive-through. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Luther.
Aye.
Dr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Rowley.
Aye.
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Tomer.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Item 2, consideration of amending Article 10 zoning codes to create ghost sign regulation. I open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? Close the public hearing. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Tomer.
Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance amending or reordaining certain sections of Chapter 41 entitled Zoning Ordinance of the Danville City Code, including specific sections in Article 10 entitled Sign Regulations, Section D entitled Sign Definitions, Section K entitled Abandoned Signs, and adding Section T entitled Ghost Signs.
There's a second. Mr. Gilstrap. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Gilly, in some of the material, there was a requirement that possibly a picture of the historic sign be provided to prove its age, and it could never have been painted over, and it had to be original to the building. And I see that some of that's in the language here. I think this process should be made as easy as possible and not have all these hoops. I mean, that's what brought it to our attention in the first place, was the hoops that everybody has to jump through. Tell me the rationale for the photographic evidence, and it has to be original to the building. I don't know what that means. Suppose they painted the sign 5 years after the building was built in 1872. So what's the rationale with all these restrictions?
The rationale for it is to prohibit someone from coming in and painting a sign currently and saying, okay, that sign was there previously and I want to keep it, and in effect using it as a billboard. We have an issue, a fine line between what is a billboard and what is not a billboard. Someone comes in and paints a sign, puts a currently advertised product on it, and then says to us, well, that sign's always been there. We need some sort of proof to show that this is actually a historic sign. So it's a protection from the city to try and limit billboards throughout the city. The photographic evidence is just something to show us, yes, that sign was actually there. The 50 years old is a kind of a historic standard. We picked that because we searched a bunch of other people and see what everyone else was using. 50 years seemed to be a good number. Original to the building or the occupancy of the building. Again, what was the building originally designed and intended for? And it's to help prohibit those types of billboards that go on top of a building.
Okay, so the sign did not have to be originally on the building when the building was first started?
No, sir.
It could be put in 10 years later, 15?
Correct. It has to be over 50 years and relate to the historic occupancy of the building.
Okay, I think most of my questions are...
Okay, Mr. Shanks.
I don't have a question, I don't think, for Mr. Gilly. I'm concerned, as Mr. Luther is, about the ordinance. And what concerns me more is there's no one from the public here to express any concerns. So I assume you've met with some of those, or some of those have met with you that were so vocal about the initial problem we had. Have you had any meetings with anyone?
We've advertised it. We've had planning commission meetings. We sent the information out to the Commission of Architectural Review.
We did present it to the Commission of Architectural Review, and two of those members, Ms. Latham and Ms. Stillwell, sent comments via email, and we made sure that those were included in your packet.
Okay.
We've advertised for this evening's
Yeah,
meeting.
and I know you've done everything that you're supposed to do. I came to this meeting with the thought that this should be tabled and the council should look at it, because I don't know how many members watched the Planning Commission meeting, but they had a whole lot of questions, and they passed it on with a favorable recommendation. And I thought, after watching that Planning Commission meeting, I'd get to ask some of those same questions in a work session type environment. There are in your research, you have lots of photographs of signs that do and don't. I would have, liked to have looked over those, and I guess I could have, as a citizen, come to your office and do so. I just thought we would see it. So I'm not going to, since the public doesn't seem to have any concerns, I'm open to further discussion in work session prior to voting on this, but I'm not going to push it as strong as I came here thinking I would. I really see us create another ordinance that hasn't been thoroughly thought out, and I know you guys have, but y'all look at things from a different perspective. So I would just leave it at that I'd be willing to support a substitute amendment to look at it in work session, but I won't offer that amendment.
Okay, Mr. Raleigh.
Some of us were around in 1961, so we know what was up there and what wasn't up there. Help me understand, you've said it 3 times, must pertain to the historic occupancy of a building. Help me understand what that means.
What was inside that building at one time? The building may have at one time been a store that sold convenience goods. Another time it's a clothing store. Depending on what the facility was used for, there could be a sign that relates to what was in that building at one time.
What about the Coke sign that's already been done? That doesn't relate, does it?
It relates to the historic occupancy of that building. That building at one time did have something in there that sold that product.
Okay. I almost agree with Mr. Shanks that I want us to do something, but I just don't know if we're getting real complicated in how we're doing it. And I know you're trying to protect the city, so I would really like to discuss it further before we vote on it. Thank you,
Mr. Vice Mayor.
If a motion to table is made, we can't discuss it anymore. So I'd like to ask the councilman a question and also comment that the input you got from these other organizations all wanted to see it more simply enabled. And they pointed out the very things that I mentioned now that I'm remembering. And some of the ghost sign pictures that are in our packet are so ghostly I can't read them. This looks like bare brick to me. So I'm sure there was something there, but I don't have an imagination enough to see what was there. But my question for you, Mr. Shanks, is are you trying to simplify this, or the questions do you have with the wording of it that would maybe add more stipulations?
I think there were some very valid concerns and questions raised at the Planning Commission that I wasn't sure I was on board with the answers. And I think that there may be over-regulation in terms of what I thought was going to come out of it. Maybe.
Mr. Gilstrap. Raise your hand up. Okay. Further discussion?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Raleigh?
Explain again, I think you did before, I don't know if I understood. You talked about if a ghost sign had been painted over, and then when somebody buys a building, they go in and see that that's there. That could not come back and do that sign, even if it was 50 years old.
Correct. If that sign has been painted over, someone made a conscious effort to remove that advertising from that facility. So,
see, I don't understand that. It's still over 50 years old. You're letting everybody else do it. I don't understand why that would be such a big deal.
From a city's perspective, what we're trying to protect is someone going back and trying to find something that used to be on a building quite a long time ago and then reinstalling it even though it's no longer there. That was not, in effect, a ghost sign. It's no longer there. It's been removed, but then you get the claim. And we use, and I don't want to pick on a brand, but we have some signs, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, Coke, All those that used to be on buildings that had been subsequently removed, owners had taken them out. I've had an owner call me and say, well, if I can get this company to pay, can I put my sign back up? Do we want to allow that? Are we promoting billboards as opposed to a ghost sign now? Because, that building has been completely removed. From a city's perspective, we had gotten rid of billboards a long time ago. This opens that back up.
Well, let me, if I could, Mr. Mayor, another question. Then, all right, say it's a Dr. Pepper sign that's been there for 80 years. It's historically pertains to the building. It's not anything that we can't stop them from doing if he wants to go and get advertising money. Is that not right?
If it's still visible, correct. They can. If they paint it over and then you go to the company and say, hey, pay for me to put your sign back up, that's the same as renting a space on any of the other major highways.
Right.
That's why this has been such a tricky issue from a planning perspective.
And maybe I'm just being real naive about it, but I just don't see that being a problem. I don't know why something that's painted over, if they happen to find it, and the owner of the building says, let's do it. I don't know why we shouldn't be able to do it. I think we're restricting it too much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Jenks.
Let me ask you a couple of 3 location signs I just know of offhand. And can you decipher the rules so I'll know how? And these people don't, the signs I'm talking about have no interest at all that I know of. But let's talk about Five Forks. There's a Dr. Pepper or Pepsi sign on the side of a building there with the old logo of whichever product it is. Would that be permitted or not permitted to be renovated if somebody, renovation is the wrong term, but could that be upgraded if somebody wanted to?
There's 3 of them in that area. Which sign would you be
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them? 2 of them I would say yes for sure, because we as staff, we have, in answering Mr. Luther's question earlier, we have quite a substantial photographic record of buildings going back. The city has done building surveys throughout, and that's why some of those signs that you said took your imagination. We have photos showing them beforehand, so we were kind of tipped off on where they would be and whether they were still available. Some of them we can document are over 50 years old. The one I would have a question on whether it's a newer sign painted sometime in the 70s or late 80s. That really wouldn't meet it, but they could maintain it in the current state, so probably that one could be repainted, but not necessarily falling under the same ghost sign legislation.
All right. There's somewhere on Lynn Street, I think it's Lynn, there's a Holly grocery store sign. It's hardly a ghost sign, but it's an old sign. Would that be
I
permitted?
believe we had a photograph of that one, and that's why we went, I think. And again, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do these off the top of my head. And as you saw from the multitude of pictures that we provided you, that was only a certain percentage of those that are still out there. There are quite a lot of them. Once we started looking at these, there are many more ghost signs than what we even provided to you. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the Holly. If it met the 50-year criteria, yes, it could be, and if it was visible.
All right. The Board of Architectural Review met, and they couldn't vote because they had too many conflicts of interest. Is that correct?
No, I think we just presented it to them and then asked them for their
Was there
comment.
another agency, a commission that met and had conflicts and couldn't vote on the matter?
Not on this. They had a conflict on another issue, but not on this issue, as I recall.
I need some help from the city attorney on this, and I don't mean to, if I'm out of order, forgive me, but I would like to make a motion that this item be tabled to the work session for further discussion. A substitute motion.
Motion is
I think what you might want to do is make a motion to remove this item to be discussed in a future work session, as opposed to tabling it, because I think if you table it...
Yeah, I'll follow your lead, sir.
But does that end debate, Mr. Attorney?
I don't think that ends debate, but because he's just asking that the item be removed from this agenda to be another. So I think you could still debate it. But
Okay. Ms. Schenck, you have more?
No, sir.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
You said we can debate this?
Yes.
Okay.
since it's not on
I have a question. It's not related to taking it off the agenda. It's a follow-up to Mr. Rowley's question. If you start another motion where I can't ask that question, I want to ask it before.
I don't think
it's been
anybody's
seconded yet.
I don't think anybody's made that motion.
I have a follow-up as well.
You what?
I have a follow-up question as well.
Okay, let's
I
do it
did
right
make,
here.
excuse me, as I understand it, Mr. Shanks was asking for instruction or clarification in terms of tabling the matter or further study. The attorney responded to Mr. Shanks' question. Mr. Shanks did not make an official motion, so we're still in discussion. Yes. Ms. Vice Mayor?
I want to follow up on what Mr. Raleigh said. And we all remember that we'll use the downtown buildings. Years ago, facades were put up over the beautiful old buildings, and they thought that would bring them up to date, and that was the thing to do. So now we've taken those facades down, and we see those beautiful buildings as they were. I see that the same as painting over a sign. And like you said, someone willingly painted over that sign. They did it on purpose. They also put those facades up on purpose. But later, if you think back at the history, we'd rather see the original things. So I think a painted over sign is certainly eligible to get refaced. And I just think that's unnecessary to have that in. And if we can get in a session where we can talk about these things to make it a little easier for the staff even by not having so many hoops to jump through, I'm in favor.
Okay, let me say this. We've had 6 points of debate, and there are 3 more waiting. I'm sensing that there may be a motion coming up for further discussion. Maybe, I don't know that. But if it's going to come up, we might not want to wait very long to bring it up, if it's going to come up. 3 more points of debate. Mr. Tomer?
I was going to tail on to what Mr. Raleigh and Luther said. I understand what you're talking about. You don't want signs that are no longer there to be recreated. Is that right?
That's a concern that we have.
Like if a sign is not visible at all, it's no longer a ghost, and you just don't want to have people going in and recreating billboards.
Correct.
My only concern is to go on what Mr. Luther said, is if the sign's painted over, it's just like stripping furniture. I mean, you can strip a desk or a table and get back to the beautiful wood finish that's underneath. Here, we're like making a rule that says you can't strip the furniture and show the wood that's underneath if you want to refinish it. And I've got concerns like Mr. Luther said. I understand your point that you don't want just signs recreated. Let's say there was a sign here 50 years ago and there's not even any image of the sign left. You want to have some sort of regulation on whether people can just throw up billboards wherever they want to. But I think that maybe we need to talk about it a little more and work out that language, because if the sign does still exist somewhat, I would be in favor of allowing the owner to strip what's there if the sign's underneath. I don't want to restrict it in that manner. So maybe I'd be fine with whatever motion Mr. Shanks is going to introduce, should he choose to do one.
Ms. Gilstrap?
Could we not amend this ordinance later? Is there some way we could move forward with ghost signs and yet come back and amend the language to remove what Mr. Luther wants to remove, or include what Mr. Raleigh wants to remove, or are we just going to put a hold on ghost signs until we have a chance to discuss it?
I guess I'll call you just a minute, Mr. Vice Mayor. What comes to mind would be, if there are some things that are being proposed that brings concern, then that may confuse the issue of approving it and amending it later. I'm getting the impression that there are some changes that will be made in the existing recommendation. It's the impression that I'm getting. But that's up to council, whatever council want to do. Mr. Vice Mayor.
I just want to point out to Ms. Gilstrap and everybody that if an application is denied after we pass this, waiting to maybe amend it later, the appeal does not come here. We have nothing. This is our last shot at it, because if he turns it down, it goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they have the final say. It can't come to us, I don't think.
Okay, and Mr. Attorney, did you want to comment on Mr. Gilstrap's question?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Vice Mayor, you have more?
No.
Mr. Shanks.
I was in line to make the very point that Mr. Luther just made, and I'll expand on his comment in that when it goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals, the deck is stacked against overturning. So, it's just the way the Board of Zoning Appeals is made up, the rules of their board. And so, There were a couple other comments I wanted to make, but instead of prolonging, I would like to make a motion.
Sure.
And I don't know if this is is this an amended motion?
No, I don't, unless you're going to...
There has been a motion on the floor to approve, is that correct?
No.
No, sir.
Mr. Attorney,
thought
did you
that's
say
how we
the
got to
motion for
discussion.
further discussion would be in order? Did you say that earlier?
Yes, sir. I think we said we would remove this to discuss in work session and bring back at a future meeting.
So that would be,
Essentially a motion to postpone. Yeah.
yes, yes. Mr. Shanks?
I just want to make sure, we did have a motion and we did have a second.
Well, yes, the motion.
That's how we got to discussion.
But if you make...
Well, you're making a substitute motion or amended motion?
Well, I don't know whether that's what I'm
you're
asking.
making an alternate motion. I think we'll be fine. If that's the motion you want to make, we'll be fine.
Okay, so so I move that we, through an alternate motion, that we postpone vote on this matter and discuss it in a future work session.
Is there a second? Mr. Vice Mayor? Discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk?
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther?
Aye.
Mr. Attorney, is there a need to vote on the original motion?
No, sir.
Thank you. Item D, consideration of vacating. Yes.
If there is anybody watching this with great interest, is there any reason why the discussion cannot occur this evening? In the work session with the item brought back at the next meeting instead of postponing it for a full month?
I don't know how much we have later. Let's do it.
Okay.
That would be up to council, but I think it would depend on how much time you want in discussion, but more important than that, how much information we have tonight versus more information the council themselves may want to go back and research. But it's up to council. Mr. Shanks.
And I'm not sure, I know Mr. King is anxious to get this pushed through, and I don't want to disagree, but I'm not so sure I'm prepared I'd like to have some thought and go through the ordinance and go through and look at some signs. I'm not sure. Now, if you tell me there's something that's pressing, maybe, but I just assume.
No, just as long as we don't have the ordinance, we cannot approve repairing a ghost sign.
Are there other responsive comments to Mr. King's comment?
Do we have any requests now?
No.
Okay.
We could certainly get this back in 30 days, couldn't we?
That would depend on how much time you want to.
Well, I mean, if you advertise, if it's on the agenda for the next work session, it could come back. Y'all already made the agenda.
Well, that can be amended.
Dr. Miller?
I think we need further time. I'm not sure. The questions came up tonight. I think we need more time to do that. The signs have been there for at least 50 years, so I don't think it's going to matter if we wait another 2 weeks.
And we spent about 30 minutes on that, which suggests to me we probably won't resolve it in work session tonight. Exactly. That's the impression that I get. Item D, consideration of vacating a 0.19-acre portion of the unopened right-of-way on Ball Street near the intersection of Claiborne Street. I open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? I close the public hearing. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Raleigh.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance vacating 0.19 acre for the unopened right-of-way on Ball Street near the intersection of Claiborne Street.
Okay. Second by Dr. Miller. Discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Item E, consideration of amending the city's enterprise zone boundaries and incentives. I open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? Close the public hearing. Council, your pleasure. Dr. Miller?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like for us to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to submit to the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development an enterprise zone boundary incentive amendment application for the City Urban Enterprise Zone Number 1.
Okay, second. Mr. Wallace. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Shanks.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to discuss, I think there were at least 5 or 6 really good things that are coming out of this policy, at least. I have concerns about, well, for instance, under job creation grants, that applies to each new job. Is that correct? Under the job creation grant?
Well, we're saying we were going to take it from a one-time local job grant to a 5-year job grant.
Right, but it's for each one job created.
Yes.
And likewise is the case for one of the other sections. My question is, my concern is that under the B-poll,
yes, sir,
part of this issue, when you compare your number of employees, you compare that to the previous 3 years instead of the previous year. Mm-hmm. And what is your thinking behind that is for it being a 3-year average instead of like on the other sections being the previous year?
Well, I think it would be a fair assumption and based on the VPC.
And the reason why I ask is there are opportunities where businesses that are pared down and trying to recover through this when the recovery ever comes, mm-hmm. that it seems like every job is important, and to say you have to have 5 new jobs, mm-hmm. I hate to see that actually in this particular case I think it's 3 jobs. Is that right for the B-poll?
No, it's 5 permanent full-time positions. We lowered it at council's request from 10 to 5.
Right, and it's still, okay, I still have concerns about that, and also the next one, the industrial investment grant, which is the tool related to has the option of the T. That requires 25 jobs. And my comment is, and I won't prolong this, but my comment is, it seems like, particularly with the 25 jobs, it seems like we're not working with the people that are really the people that are here and doing things in the community that want to continue to grow or start to regrow. And I think, it's great about the exemption for the city permits, and it's great about the job creation grant that the city's going to do that does the same thing the state does. But I just wish it wasn't so hard to get to where you're making people go to. And I think that really applies a lot to the local businesses. The other comment I have is with the 25 new jobs, and you can certainly be in a better position to answer this, but that would not apply to some of these high-tech companies that are coming into town now. Is that correct? The ones that come in with 8 or 10 people?
I'm sorry?
The ones that come into town with 8 or 10 or 12 people?
Correct. It would be a $1 million investment and 25 new permanent full-time positions.
So you're thinking that with the $1 million investment, you're thinking they're all going to have 25 employees, or that should be your benchmark? That should be
our benchmark, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I won't prolong this, but I certainly think that the Economic Development Department needs to keep in mind the small local businesses that are living through this economy that may wish to grow again. That's my comment. Thank you.
Mr. Tomer?
Yeah, I would just say, well, I don't totally disagree with Mr. Shanks. I think at this point, our rebating of tax dollars, we have to use every dollar that we can to incentivize for job creation. The issue that I have with the way that business and professional license fee rebate is set up, and maybe tell me if I'm explaining it wrong to the people at home, is we have an enterprise zone, which is a certain area within the city. There's businesses that are within that certain area, and if they increase their annual sales volume, they get a tax rebate.
50%, yes, sir.
50% tax rebate. And without creating a single job.
Correct.
Without adding to their payroll per se. So some of the people that are getting this are gas stations and doctors or attorneys' offices.
Yes, sir.
And so what we're trying to do here is say, we'll still rebate you that money, but we want you to go out and create some jobs, or put money back in, reinvest, create some jobs, what have you, and we'll give the money back. So in a way, we're either going to keep the money and put into our fund, I guess, our general fund, or keep the money for the city's treasury to maybe incentivize somewhere else or do something else with, or we're going to give it back to you if you create jobs.
Correct.
And so I just feel like I understand what he's saying, that we need to be helpful to small businesses in particular, but as council members, job number one and what we're doing is creating jobs. That's got to be what we do. And so this is, I think, is a good policy to say, you'll get your rebate, but let's create some jobs with it. And the argument could be made, well, you can't create jobs if you don't get the tax rebate, but it seems like we've done this for so long and it hasn't worked. So maybe we need to try something else, and that's what this policy is. So I'll be voting for it. And I thank you for bringing it to us. I think some council members were concerned that the job number creation was too high with 10, so we compromised and we brought it down to 5. So now it just says if you create 5 jobs, full-time jobs in the calendar year, you get 50% of your tax back.
Correct.
Okay.
As compared to the previous year. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Miller?
I agree. I think this is an excellent change. We went down to 5 jobs because, a percentage of your workforce for your business, 10 was a big increase, and 5 is a more reasonable increase, particularly for some of these things that are mentioned. A question is on the 25 jobs for the tools and tax reimbursement grant. Did we base that on somebody else's, or where did the 25 come from?
Well, it's sort of in line with the state, and that's just a number that the state does for a lot of the programs, actually 20 to 25 new full-time positions. And we felt like companies that have $1 million investment in machinery and tools, that would easily coordinate with the 25 new job growth.
So these are bigger businesses.
Yes, sir.
25 jobs would not be an unreasonable
Correct.
increase. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Mr. Shanks?
Yes, sir. One more item. As Mr. Tomer pointed out, the original proposal was 10 jobs, and yes, we did get to a lower number, 5. Truth of the matter is, though, we also threw in a 3-year average as a kicker. And think about the last 3 years or 2 years. So what you're asking a company that's trying to rebound to do is go back where his employment level was 3 years ago and average that in. So I still think it's not as helpful to existing local businesses as it should be. That's my final point.
Further discussion? Mr. Tomer?
Yeah, what was the thought behind the 3 years instead of just doing it on the previous year?
I think the thought was that with the down economy, that people are laying off. So actually, the 3-year average may be to their benefit, where they've lowered their number of employees. And then now moving forward, when the economy rebounds.
Okay, now we have discussed this in work session very thoroughly. That's right. We're debating it again tonight, okay? Now, I'm about to call for the vote. Mr. Tomer, after you complete your comment.
Mayor, I understand
and then
that,
Mr.
but
Shanks.
people that are watching at home, they're not privy to what we debate in the business. So I want people to have a good understanding.
If you would like to make your comment, go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
And so you're telling us that if you have 15 employees and you've laid them off, or you're saying that if you go with a previous 3-year average, then you would get a better result than it. But how would that work when you're going in the negative than the positive? You're saying, I'm trying to follow the logic behind it.
Well, we just think it's a fair approach, using the 3-year average and going on VEC records. They maintain very positive record keeping there.
Ms. Shanks?
The 3-year average, though, if you had 15 3 years ago, or if you had 15 2 years ago and you're down to 5 this year, then that taking the previous year isn't helping you any.
But if you added jobs 3 years ago, if you added 10 jobs 3 years ago and you've laid off 5 jobs in the previous year, that's about it. If you added 15 and laid off 5, then you'd still be in the positive 5 over a 3-year period.
You're
Was your question to Mr. Tomer, Mr. Shanks, or you make
Well,
comments?
no, I'm not following that, because if you've been laying off for the last 3 years, your lowest number is this year.
Is your question, Ms. Sparks?
That was my discussion, Mayor.
Yes.
That was my discussion.
And she can probably answer your question, what I'm saying to you. You're trying to get more information to make a decision. And I'm saying that Ms. Ann Moore Sparks is here to answer your question. That's all I'm saying.
Is the math right on that?
On what, sir?
If you had 15 employees 2 years ago, and this year you have 5, what is the most advantageous number? The previous year or the 3-year average?
I'd have to take a better look at that for you to be more confident on that, my response.
Thank you.
You have more, Mr. Shanks?
No, sir.
Madam Clerk?
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mr. Attorney, do we need a public hearing or resolution for the...
Yes, sir.
We do?
Yes, sir.
For the city manager to sign a document?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This public hearing has to do with the city manager signing a document regarding enterprise zone. Anyone wish to speak on this matter? Open the public hearing. Sorry. Who wants to speak on the matter? Anyone wish to speak? Close the public hearing. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Vice Mayor?
I move we adopt the resolution authorizing the city manager to submit to the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development an enterprise zone incentive amendment application for the city's portion of the joint zone with Pittsylvania County.
There a second? Dr. Miller. Discussion of the motion.
Just,
Mr. Vice Mayor?
just very quick. In addition to giving the city manager authorizing the ability to sign, we're going into new territory here with this enterprise zone number 57, a joint move with the county, which is significant, I think.
Okay, further discussion. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye. Item F, consideration of approving financial policies for the city of Danville. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Raleigh?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution approving the financial policies for the city of Danville.
Okay, there a second?
Second.
Dr. Miller? Discussion of the motion. Mr. Vice Mayor?
I have a question for the city manager. This document is easy to read, and I can understand it without any problems. And in work session and in our information, we are told that most of the things that are in this document are actually financial policies that are in effect now. We just don't have them written down anywhere. But I notice this is the 4th revision of that document already. And further, that we are required to look at this document for revision every time we go into budget process. Now, the one thing that, and let's be blunt about it, I want to know, is there anything in this document that is different from the way that we do things now? And if we approve it, we're letting something slip in that maybe we haven't debated. So I'd like to ask the city manager, what, if anything, in this document is different from the way we do business today?
In the work session at our last meeting, there was a summary of the changes, and there are 9 separate instances where the current proposed policies are different than the previous policies. This is much more comprehensive. There have been written policies that were adopted many years ago by resolution, and then there are practices we're following that have not been approved explicitly by council but represent reasonable best practices. I can assure council that in every instance the proposed is much more stringent than the previous. For example, we in a previous policy applied a 10% debt limit, which is a state code. You can have up to 10% of the value of your, I think, operating revenues that can be consumed with debt service payments. And the previous policy excluded debt that was maturing within the next 24 months. This policy cuts that in half and excludes only debt that's maturing in the next 12 months. That's just indicative of the pattern that we have here of being much more stringent than previous policies or state policies. In terms of all the limits on the amount of debt, most of these changes are in the debt category. We are actually performing well below the standards that were reflected in these financial policies. So not only are the policies more stringent, but we are performing well below the limits that are reflected in these policies. We do have a couple of instances where we've added policies where none existed. There's a new policy that essentially prohibits the use of derivatives in our borrowing, which is a best practice these days of cities, given what's happened to derivatives. We don't have an explicit policy currently covering short-term debt. There's an addition. So we filled in some blanks that are needed. There are 3 instances where in our previous policies we reflected what the bonding houses, Standard & Poor, Fitch, Moody's, at the time used as benchmarks for financial performance that we've recommended elimination of. For example, there was a limit in the previous policies relating to net debt per capita. That's no longer a benchmark looked at by rating agencies, so we've suggested eliminating that. But just for the sake of comparison, the previous policy had no more than $1,200 per capita in debt, and we're actually performing at just over $1,000. So we're well below the standard that we've had. So just to summarize, in every case that we've had a change, we're actually strengthening our standards, or we're filling in blanks, or we're discontinuing language that is somewhat archaic in terms of what's generally required by bonding agents. So this is much more stringent.
I asked in the work session about to be sure the derivatives were well defined, because to me, buying gas and trying to hedge your debts is a derivative. And with natural gas prices falling yet again this week, we're way in the hole by going into trying to guess and stabilize gas prices. And I just want to be sure that this derivative that you're talking about, derivatives that we can't have, are strictly financial derivatives,
Right.
hedging money bets type thing. Is that correct?
In terms of, yes, you're correct. And there is a pretty clear paragraph in the policies that define what a derivative is. In terms of our natural gas purchases, we refer to those as hedges, but actually they're pre-purchases of gas to be delivered at a certain point in time at a certain cost. So that doesn't approach what you would think of as a derivative. It may be a bad decision.
It's a gamble.
But it is a hedge to try to avoid paying what we would predict would be higher prices at the time. But there's nothing, no smoke and mirrors at all about the gas hedges. That's simply putting in an order for a certain amount of gas at a certain price to be delivered at a certain time.
Okay. You have more?
No.
Ms. Shanks.
Yes, sir. I think I have three questions, and the first one has to do, I believe, if we pass this, we'll have to go to the General Assembly. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, so the issue regarding debt limit has been taken out of this?
That's correct.
Okay, what about the issue regarding electric debt? Has that been
That's
taken
been
up?
taken out as well.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? Ms. Gilstrap.
How long have we been without a financial policy?
We've had incomplete policies for probably 15 years. So this is the first, what I would consider comprehensive, and yet there are still many refinements that will be made in the future, we hope. So we've never had this kind of comprehensive set of financial policies.
Okay. Does this, once it's approved, is it restrictive in any way of what council can or cannot do?
It would certainly reflect council's policy, which can be changed. We would certainly follow it very strictly. But if for whatever reason the circumstances at the time require a different course of action, I think what we'd certainly want to do is acknowledge that and have council's explicit approval to deviate from the policy. And the policies are going to need to be updated not every month. We suggest annually. It's just a part of the cycle. And there are sections that we need to add. So it will be a continuing work in progress, but we would certainly consider them as ironclad policies, and from the administration's point of view, would follow them. Council can decide what circumstances to relax the policies or change the policies.
You have more, sir? Further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Item D, consideration of amending FY 2012 Budget Appropriation Ordinance to provide for a grant from the State Department of Emergency Management in the amount of $185,814 for replacement of the Police Department's records management system. Mr. Raleigh.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2012 budget appropriation ordinance by increasing revenue from the fiscal year 2010 State Homeland Security Program in the amount of $185,814 to be used to enhance the Danville Police Department's regional information sharing by providing funds for the replacement of its records management system for first reading.
Okay, there's a second. Dr. Miller. Discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion. First reading. Item 8, consideration of amending FY 2012 Budget Appropriation Ordinance to provide for funds from the United States Department of Justice Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program in the amount of $32,154 for the Police Department. Is there a motion? Mr. Jones.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2012 budget appropriation ordinance by increasing revenue from fiscal year 2011 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program in the amount of $32,154 to be used to purchase an interview integration room, audio-video recording system, and officer-worn audio-video recording devices.
Is there a second? Mr. Raleigh. Discussion of the motion. First reading. Item I, consideration of supporting the Danville, Pennsylvania Regional Industrial Facility Authority's application to the Virginia Tobacco Commission to grade Lot 4 in the megapark. Is there a motion? Dr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like the council to approve a resolution in support of RIFA's application to the Virginia Tobacco Commission to grade Lot 4 in the mega park.
Okay, is there a second, Mr. Gilstrap? Discussion on the motion. Mr. Raleigh.
Mr. City Manager, has the county already voted on this as far as the match?
They have.
They have, haven't they?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
Further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Wait a minute.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks? Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Item J, consideration of naming a new road, East Franklin Turnpike, and renaming portions of Forestdale Drive to Forestdale Place and Norwood Drive. Is there a motion? Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Mayor, I move for ordinance naming the road that extends Franklin Turnpike from North Main Street to Danville Expressway, East Franklin Turnpike. Number 2, ordinance rename the 2 portions of Forestdale Drive.
You take them both, Mr. Attorney? You
Yes,
have
sir.
Okay, second on the motion? Mr. Raleigh. Discussion of the motion. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Luther?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Communication, Mr. Manager?
No report.
Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to congratulate the George Washington High School Eagles for a big upset win Friday night in their first round playoff game in pursuit of a Northwest Regional Championship and hopefully a state championship. They defeated Massaponax 42-26. That's all.
Okay, all right. Madam Clerk?
Nothing, sir.
Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Shanks?
Nothing this evening.
Mr. Tomer?
Nothing.
Reverend Campbell?
Just want to say I thought it was a good session we had with the Safe Coalition, and I was sorry to see what happened to the frontage of the North Theater, and I hope that they can be restored. Thank you.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Nothing.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Mayor, the bonuses tonight for I think the audience who are watching see that we passed the bonus for our employees and the constitutional officers. I see some constitutional officers here. We see our employees tonight. Many of the people in our audience don't understand when you see Ms. Moore and Mr. Gilly and all of them standing here at this podium. It's a tough job. So to all of our employees, I want to say congratulations to you for your bonus, and to the constitutional officers, congratulations. Mr. Mayor, I would like to close to this. We're entering into the holiday season, and you all heard Bruce Hedrick said that he was back on South Central Blog. I would like to suggest that everyone take out some time this week and next week and just text someone or email them, Twitter them, Facebook them, blog them, or just call them the old-fashioned way and just give them a greeting. Tell them hello, thank you, happy Thanksgiving, and let's all count our many blessings. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Luther?
You know, just listening to Mr. Jones, Alonzo, there's several blogs out there. I know Mr. Vogler has one where people are pretty blunt about, their opinions, and I think some people have the opinion. And we sit up here in these desks, which used to be a courtroom, and the judge up there, and we do talk down to people that we don't listen to people enough. And I think your idea is how do you get the messages out from, we need to hear from people. And we did spend a lot of time talking about these ghost signs, which seemed like there are a lot more important things going on. But, we try to get things right. I would like to get a report from the administration at our next meeting. What has been done, if anything, to identify a section of the Dan River that we can apply for the state to have it designated as a scenic river. I think that is an excellent part of our program in that area, and it's been mentioned, but I don't think if it's been followed up on it, I'm not aware of it. And then I'd like to say one more thing. I've seen a lot of comments on blogs and in the newspaper's blog about why is the city of Danville worried about arresting people speeding through the city as opposed to taking in more serious crime matters, and we have some more serious crime matters. I'd just like to point out that money that is being used to have that traffic enforcement program was a grant that we approved. It came from another source, and it could only be spent on people speeding and running red lights and having license checkpoints. And so the people who are doing these, the officers who are doing these, it's not taking a single officer off the street. They're using their own separate frequency to talk to each other. I know they nailed somebody for doing 84 miles an hour, which you shouldn't be doing anywhere in the city, but I think it was a 45-mile-an-hour zone. If you get caught for speeding, I think you should be forewarned that they're doing a great job. They're working as a team, and they're not taking their eyes off of all the other crimes and stuff going on. This is an additional service being paid for by a grant, and not the police not having anything better to do. But I tell you, I think the city manager told us about 100 citations in 4 days. So the number of people speeding by me in the work zone has been cut by at least 50%. And I think it's going to have a positive effect. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Miller?
Just want to congratulate the city workers, which do include teachers, firemen, and policemen, contrary to what the recent letter to the editor said in the paper. Congratulate you all on the work well done. You deserved every penny of your bonuses. Secondly, we were going to hear tonight about the River District Plan implementation. We heard last night Mr. Parrish presented to us that to our River City Committee. The things that are happening, the pieces are starting to fall in place. We are about to get the funds for the renovation of the downtown sidewalks and streets. The large screen theater is coming. We've been told by realtors that people that are showing interest, they want to open up new restaurants downtown and new businesses. We're really on a roll with this. And I'm convinced that if a person that's been away from Danville for 4 or 5 years comes back 2 or 3 years from now, they won't recognize the downtown for the improvements that have been made. So I think this is a thing we need to keep the momentum going. And finally, the trash is piling up on Mother Earth. We're running out of place to dump things. Recycle, recycle, recycle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Raleigh?
Nothing tonight.
Mayor Saunders?
I'd like to wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving. As Mr. Jones said, we are entering the holiday season. Be safe, be kind, and enjoy. Meeting adjourned.